Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for another episode of Run It Back. I'm Grant Shear, and beside me is the marvelous Cooper Hannon.
Thank you for the introduction, Grant. It is lovely to be back here for another thrilling episode. A lot on tap today, wouldn't you say?
A lot on tap, that's for sure, Coop. You know, looking ahead, this Thursday is the NBA trade deadline, and we've already seen tons of crazy moves, including De'Aaron Fox heading to the Spurs to team up with Victor Wembanyama, and Zach LaVine heading to the Sacramento Kings. Talk about a major switch-up.
Yeah, a wild three-team trade, Grant. I mean, both of those hoopers were premium trade candidates, but wow. Now, a trade that did not go through happened to involve an 11-year-old kid who pulled the 101 Paul Skeens MLB debut rookie patch auto. The Pirates had a once-in-a-lifetime offering, including 30 years' worth of prime seating and a private tour of PNC Park. This would include batting practice and warm-ups with the team. However, the card will be put to auction in March.
I mean, personally, I think you would have to live in Pittsburgh to get the most out of that, but what do I know?
But do you think?
You know, I feel like we're really missing something today.
Yeah, I would gonna think that too.
You know,
Maybe it has something to do with that Dallas Maverick jersey I saw in the trash can.
you are so right. I think that was our producer Case's, but yes, a few days ago, a blockbuster trade rocked the NBA world. The Lakers are trading Anthony Davis and a first-round pick to the Dallas Mavericks in return for Luka Doncic and Markieff Morris. Finally, LeGoat gets some much-needed help.
Yeah, and Lakers, you know, right now, plus 1,300 right now to win the chip. I mean, could have some good value there.
You know, before we send it to break, we have some breaking news. Myles Garrett has just requested a trade. Myles Garrett, a former Defensive Player of the Year, once out of Cleveland.
Wow. We will be on the lookout to see whatever team picks him up. Hey, I mean, the Chargers could definitely use him.
Not as much as the Jaguars,
Well,
but
yeah.
that's besides the point. For now, let's run it back.
Wow. What an excellent introduction right there.
You know, I heard a little sneak peek of that intro last night at the Grammys. Great job to our producer, Tyler, for cooking that up. Tyler, have you considered a career in the music industry?
Hey, excellent job, big dog. However, the excellence is just the beginning, as we have a variety of KU sports to discuss today, including both basketball beatdowns and a recap of KU's football recruitment.
To wrap up KU Sports, Ben Vaskov will take the stand and give us a KU football offseason update. But first, Bianca and the KU women's basketball team, roll it.
The Jayhawks came out strong with their first shot, hitting a three to get the crowd going. They managed to stick with the Wildcats in the first two quarters, with the score being 25-37 at halftime. K-State came out strong after halftime and scored 16 points within the first 5 minutes of the third frame to widen the Kansas deficit 53-32. Sanaya Copeland helped push the Jayhawks in the fourth with scoring 17 points, but unfortunately it wasn't enough and Kansas State secured a dominant 91-64 win over Kansas.
Thank you, Bianca. Now talking about the men's team, the Kansas Jayhawks hosted the UCF Knights this past Tuesday, looking for a bounce-back win after the rough Houston loss. This was a very competitive and close game, but the Jayhawks would eventually seal the win with a pair of Zeke Mayo free throws, making the final score 91-87. This game showed some good production from some Jayhawk guards. Zeke Mayo and David Coit would combine for 10 threes as Mayo shot 6 for 10 from behind the arc and Coit would shoot 4 for 8. However, the Jayhawks still had some struggles, and what kept this game competitive for a while was Knights guard Keyshawn Hall, who was getting everything to go for him. He finished the game with 34 points, but at the end of the night, the Jayhawks were too much. KJ Adams would provide 12 points off the bench and a clutch defensive stop that led to a pair of clutch free throws for him. Hunter Dickinson also added 24 points in the win. This was a needed bounce-back win, as this past Saturday, the Jayhawks would travel to Waco to take on the Baylor Bears. The Jayhawks would jump out to a great start as they were able to knock down shots and had great rotations. At halftime, it was 40-21. Kansas was taking care of business, and I'm curious to see what Baylor head coach Scott Drew said to his team at halftime, because when they came out for the second half, they were very aggressive. And this unfortunately becomes the worst half I have seen from the Jayhawks this season. The Baylor Bears have a pair of elite freshmen in BJ Edgecombe and Robert Wright, and Edgecombe would go down early in the game, and Wright stood up for them. He helped lead a 21-point comeback victory, finishing the game with 24 points. This was a heartbreaking loss for the Jayhawks, who did not look like the same team in that second half. And to make things worse, this was the largest blown lead in Kansas basketball history. Bill Self is a phenomenal coach, I get it, but I don't agree with some of the decisions he made in that second half. Flory Badunga, who got the starting role, played 15 minutes the entire game, and this is becoming a consistent situation. Adams plays a ton, but he doesn't have the same production that Flory does. When Adams is playing limited minutes and providing a spark off the bench and Badunga is playing consistently, that is when the Jayhawks were at their best and are at their best. The Jayhawks definitely have some talking to do and work to do as they host Iowa State tonight. This is a very important game and a chance for the Jayhawks to make a statement after a bad, brutal loss. If they want to secure a win, Badunga and Shaquille Moore need to play a lot more. But to make you guys feel better, hopefully, no matter what happens to Kansas basketball this season, the future is in great hands with recently announced McDonald's All-American Darren Peterson coming to campus next year. And he's not the only talent that is coming either. All right, I could talk about this all day, but that's enough for me. Hey, Ben, I know the Kansas football team has been hot recently. What's up with them?
Thank you, Emmett. Kansas football continues to make waves in the transfer portal, adding 22 new players ahead of the 2025 season. Head coach Lance Leipold and his staff have brought in a mix of experienced talent from powerhouse programs. Among the top-rated transfers is Keelan Burnett, a 6'6" tight end from Arizona who brings size versatility to the Jayhawks. Offense, especially after losing Jared Casey in the offseason as he was a senior. Another major addition is Emmanuel Henderson Jr., a former Alabama wide receiver known for his explosiveness and experience in the SEC. Henderson played 146 offensive snaps this season, and he was also a key contributor on special teams. He will also be able to fill in gaps in the wide receiver room as the Jayhawks lost Luke Grimm and Quinton Skinner as they were seniors. On the defensive side, Justice Finkley, an edge rusher from Texas, adds a strong pass rushing presence. Finkley, who had offers from multiple Power 5 schools, played in 6 games last season, including 2 SEC matchups. Another notable defensive player is Laquan Robinson, a former Auburn safety and one of the top JUCO recruits in the 2024 class. He played 3 games for the Tigers last year and brings elite athleticism to the Kansas secondary. The Jayhawks also bolstered their offensive line with Trevake Tungavulatu, a 6'6", 295-pound offensive tackle from UCLA, and DeAndre Harper, a 6'6", 305-pound lineman. In addition to these key additions, Kansas saw 10 players enter the transfer portal. While roster turnovers is natural in today's college football landscape, the Jayhawks have more than made up for it by reloading with a strong incoming transfer class. With spring ball just around the corner, all eyes will be on these new additions and how they fit into the Kansas system as they look on to build on its recent success in the Big 12. But that's all from me today. I'm going to send it to break, and when we return, Grant and Coop will get things ready for all things pro sports.
Have a nice day. You too. Have a great day. Thanks. You too.
Make someone's day. Pay it forward.
37% of teens are cyberbullied. 95% of teens say they have an online presence. 23% of students say they have bullied someone. Before you post, think, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Or is it kind? For more information, visit stopbullying.gov.
You know, Coop, something coming up within the next week is the Super Bowl. You heard anything about it?
Super Bowl? I don't know about no Super Bowl.
Don't trip, Coop. Olivier's got us covered with a what to look for Super Bowl play breakdown.
Ooh-wee. What else do we got going on in the pro world?
Well, I am so glad you asked. We have some NBA and WNBA deep dives.
Well, hey, all right. But first, Olivier with his super breakdown.
Thanks, guys. The Eagles and Chiefs are set for a Super Bowl rematch. On paper, this Eagles defense is more talented than the Chiefs offense. Without great matchups up front or on the outside, one of the ways I'd expect the Chiefs to attack is by using RPOs. RPOs are run-pass options, which are great at putting maximum stress on a defense. If an offense can execute them well, the defense is going to be wrong no matter what. The Chiefs crushed the Bills on these plays last week. Oftentimes on RPOs, the player being read by the quarterback is the edge on the backside of the run. Traditionally, if this guy crashes to play the run, Mahomes is going to pull it and throw it. But if he hesitates or if he plays the quarterback, you're going to hand it off. Mahomes, however, is pretty greedy. He pushes the limits of what you can get away with, and he usually does. His progression here is Juju running the seam, Travis Kelce running the wheel, and Xavier Worthy running the flat. Mahomes probably sees something he likes here pre-snap and decides to give up a good run look to throw the seam to Juju Smith-Schuster. The Chiefs hadn't really put RPOs much on tape this year, so the first time they run it, the Bills don't know what they're looking at, and all three throws are open. Later in the first half now, the Chiefs run the same play to the opposite side of the field. At the snap here, Mahomes is getting a different look. A corner is pressing Juju Smith-Schuster, which is going to take away that seam. However, after his motion, Travis Kelce has outside leverage against the safety, which is going to make a back shoulder throw possible for Mahomes. He pulls the ball when he could have run it again, and with an edge defender in his face, he delivers a perfect throw. Now, I think it's important to point out that the Chiefs run the ball to keep defenses honest, not because they're any good at it. Given what Mahomes can do, I see every handoff as a win for the defense. If I were the Eagles, I would play the run with fewer bodies and hope that Jalen Carter is going to make up for it. On this last play, down in the red zone, they're not running the same RPO, but I do think it's very important. The Eagles have to respect Mahomes' legs. Whether it's a called quarterback run, an RPO, or something else, Mahomes is going to bury Philadelphia on plays where they don't have a good plan for him running the ball. Should be a great game. Despite being overmatched, I think Andy Reid and Mahomes are going to have plenty of good answers. Speaking of good answers, last week you heard Grant Shear talk about the NBA ratings issues. This week, he's giving everyone the solutions to the problem. Grant, take it away.
Thanks, Olivier. Chiefs versus Eagles in the Super Bowl again. Me personally, I'd rather watch paint dry, but as we all know, I'll still be watching the game. But you know who's not watching games? NBA fans. Welcome back to the NBA Deep Dive. Let's jump right in. Now, as we talked about last week, we identified the three biggest problems, those being the 82-game season, the lack of defense, and the evolution of the three ball. But what can the league do to fix this? Well, I've got some ideas. First, I think the league should cut down on some of the games. Instead of an 82-game season, it could be cut down anywhere between 70 and 50 games. This would give the players more rest time, and star players who tend to get hurt would have more recovery time. Fans don't want to watch a game where the top three players on the team are out because they are sore and have a bigger game the next day. Second, there's an issue we didn't talk about last week, and that is the streaming side of things. There are multiple different streaming services that provide the game. Off the top of my head, there's ESPN, Disney Plus, and League Pass, and many more. Why? Why are there so many different ways to watch 82 games? One day the game is on ESPN, and the next it's on League Pass. These sites are not free, and to ask people to pay for multiple different services just to watch a game is crazy. The NBA needs to find a way to get every game on one service. That way, you pay once and you can watch every game wherever you want. Now, stick with me here. This last idea is kind of crazy, but I think it could work. To combat the rise in shots behind the arc, the NBA should make dunks worth 3 points. I know, crazy, right? But hear me out. Players who can do things like this should be rewarded for it. Let's take a look at Anthony Edwards. Last year, Ant averaged .84 dunks per game, and this year, he averaged half of that with a .39. Why is that? It's because he's shooting more threes. Last year, he averaged 6.9 threes a game, and this year, he's up to 10.4. Now, this wouldn't even mess up the scoring averages. If we took the three-point dunk into account, Ant would have averaged 26.7 points per game last year, when in reality, he averaged 25.9. And with less threes taken, it might have even been closer. Now, if the NBA did these three things, I believe that would solve the viewership problem, and fans would be eager to tune in. Now, I'm almost out of time. I hear we are talking some WNBA up next. Let's hear Atakai.
Thanks, Grant, for that NBA deep dive. Let's swing the rock over to women's basketball, looking into their newest league, Unrivaled. WNBA players often go overseas during the offseason for extra revenue, conditioning, or to develop new skills against the best. Players have said that they would rather stay domestic during the offseason given the option, and it is with that in mind that the newest women's basketball league, Unrivaled, tipped off January 17th. The league hosts 36 WNBA players split into 6 teams of 6, and they play a full court version of 3-on-3 basketball with a short court, shorter shot clocks and quarters, and the playoffs are a 4-team single elimination. Will this league solve the WNBA offseason problem? How does this game translate to the WNBA season? Or is this even a sustainable offseason league compared to leagues of the past? Like I said, players often go overseas to face the best competition, but Unrivaled drew in great talent. Co-founders Brianna Stewart and Afisa Collier headlined the group that includes over half of last season's All-Stars. Because players would often spread out in multiple leagues overseas, getting over half of the All-Stars show how attractive Unrivaled is. With such elite competition, players' skills are tested each game. The 3-on-3 spacing also gives players the perfect place to develop new skills and expand their game. These games are fast. The short court means players are getting up and down more. The shortened shot clock means that shots are being put up more frequently, and the shorter quarter saves the player's legs. These reasons make games good for conditioning, and the fast pace is also entertaining for the fans. One aspect the league added specifically for the fans is the one-on-one tournament. Held in the middle of February, 30 of the league's players will compete for a $200,000 prize and an extra $10,000 for each of their teammates. Speaking of the money, the average Unrivaled contract is over $200,000 per player. That average salary is about $75,000 more than that of the WNBA average for only 13 to 15 games. This second income is also more than players would be making internationally, where most players earn in the low 6 figures. This league is uniquely thought out and tailor-made for the players. It's almost too perfect of an option. However, there are certainly valid concerns about its sustainability. Viewership concerns could grow for 2 reasons, and first is that the league is aired on TNT and True TV. We don't know the length of the multi-year contract, but TNT is certainly trending downwards after losing out on NBA rights this summer. I think the league would find more success with ESPN given the opportunity, but their current numbers don't give ESPN a reason to sign them. This compounds with the second problem. The league was not able to sign 3-time MVP Asia Wilson or Caitlin Clark. To make up for those absences, Unrivaled did sign college stars Juju Watkins and Paige Beckers, who will both start playing after their college career. This viewership problem could spiral in the future if the league is not careful, because low views will lead to investors and their money leaving. However, as I said earlier, this league is unique and tailored for the players and the fans, and I believe in the league and their future success. Now, we'll send it to a quick break. Stay tuned for the new top 10 list, a Dominic Pooney deep dive, and a brief overview of the new Sim Golf League. You're watching Run It Back.
Wow, you know, it's just so sad how the football season comes and goes. But before it's over, I hear that Jude is going to be giving us a look at the Linsanity run of former Jayhawk lineman Dominic Pooney.
That's right, Coop. But before we get going, I hear Trevor also has something in store regarding tomorrow Golf League.
Yeah, the tomorrow golf thing is actually interesting, with everything going on, virtual stuff and all that. But they are just straight up cooking, you know what I'm saying?
Cooking is right, Coop. And speaking cooking, I heard Jack's going to give us another look at the Run It Back Top 10. I'm excited. You're excited. Let's do it.
In his first NFL season, University of Kansas alumni Dominic Pooney has proven to be one of the biggest steals of the 2024 NFL Draft. Pooney started his college career at the University of Central Missouri before transferring to Kansas, where he started all 24 games during his 2 seasons at KU. His senior year, he gave up 0 sacks on 12 starts and 745 snaps. This stellar season resulted in Pooney receiving the honor of first team All-Big 12. Pooney declared for the 2024 draft, and the San Francisco 49ers traded up 8 spots to select him with the 86th overall pick. With injuries across the San Francisco offensive line, Pooney was placed into the Week 1 starting lineup and never looked back, going on to start all 17 games for the 49ers at right guard. Pooney's 2024 overall PFF grade came in at an 80.5, placing him as the highest rated rookie offensive lineman and the 11th highest rated guard for the 2024 season. An underrated aspect of Pooney's game that Jayhawk fans are familiar with is his versatility. Throughout college, Pooney logged snaps at left tackle, left guard, center, and even tight end. 49er teammate, future Hall of Famer, Trent Williams has given Pooney high praise. Here's what he had to say when he found out that Pooney had never played right guard in college.
That's amazing. I didn't know he didn't play right guard in college, so I just learned something. Yeah, which is crazy because, he literally has the makings of a Pro Bowl, All-Pro player at that position. So, but he's, like I said, he's a godsend, man. He's a, really, really good kid, really, really professional. He gained his teammates' respect just by the way he carries himself.
Pooney received an endorsement from one of the greatest offensive tackles to ever play the game, and Williams isn't the only one taking notice. Pooney was recently named to the Pro Football Writers Association All-Rookie Team at the right guard position, an impressive accomplishment for a third-round selection playing the position for the first time. On an aging 49ers offensive line, Dominic Pooney is a cornerstone asset that looks to provide stability and versatility for years to come. We saw some major upsets this week, meaning a new top 10 list is in order. Jack, who do you have as some risers and fallers?
Thanks, Jude. If you were a ranked team last week, I apologize. 11 top 25 teams fell on Saturday alone, and what was another amazing week of college basketball. I'm Jack Kenna, and today we'll be breaking down the Run It Back Crew's top 10, go over some risers and fallers, and show you some games that need to be on your TV throughout the week. There is no movement at the top. Auburn and Duke remain 1 and 2, respectively, after a week where both schools went 2-0. Auburn defeated LSU and Ole Miss, while Duke manhandled North Carolina at home. Alabama jumps up 3 spots after going undefeated throughout the week, and Houston, even though they lost at home to Texas Tech, rises as well to number 4. This was a tough week for Iowa State, 0-2 this week, falling on the road to Arizona, all thanks to a half-court miracle from Caleb Love to send the game into overtime. Let's take a look at it.
Del Orso's got to go down the court. 3-point game. Too far. Here's Love for the tie. Oh! He's got at least 2 dribbles, and there they are. Okay, we always
But it
say
only got worse for Iowa State. The Cyclones lost again to Kansas State at home on Saturday. They fall 2 spots down to 5. Tennessee up 3 spots after defeating Florida at home without Zakai Ziegler. An impressive win that catapults them up a few spots, even though they lost to Kentucky earlier in the week. Florida drops a spot, losing on the road to Tennessee, but Marquette stays exactly where they are. They slipped up at home against UConn, but because of how crazy the week of college basketball was, they don't get penalized at all. Michigan State drops 2 spots after losing in SoCal, the USC, over the weekend. A tough loss, but they will have an opportunity to redeem themselves this week. There is no change rounding out the top 10. Purdue stays exactly where they are after defeating rivals Indiana on Friday. Now let's look at some of the games of the week and the best matchups of Week 14. Like we mentioned, Iowa State, Kansas tonight. The Jayhawks look to bounce back after blowing a 21-point lead against Baylor. Marquette travels to Madison Square Garden to take on Rick Pitino and St. John's on Tuesday. Missouri, a 6-2 conference record. They're traveling to Knoxville to put that record to the test and take on Tennessee. Michigan State will have a chance to redeem themselves, like we mentioned, when they host Oregon Saturday at 11 a.m. And the best game of the week, Florida, number 6 in the country, goes on the road to take on number 1, Auburn. We have a bonus game of the week for those who have time. Illinois travels to Rutgers in a matchup between 3 projected top 10 picks. Kasparis, Yakachonis, Ace Bailey, and Dylan Harper will all see the floor in an important Big Ten matchup. That is all that I have in the world of college basketball. Make sure you come back next week to see what we have in store. Now, I'm going to send it over to Trevor to talk about some new Sim Golf League.
Thanks, Jack. From the court to the fairway, the TGL, otherwise known as the Tomorrow Golf League, is taking the golf community by storm. With its massive 1,200 square foot projector and rotating green, it's hard not to want to tune in and watch. It was founded by Tiger Woods in 2022 with the goal of innovating the sport of golf and bringing a team-based component into the sport. The league also has hopes of bringing new eyes onto golf in hope of growing the game and attracting a new, younger demographic of fans. The difference for the TGL is their team-based component of the league. There are 6 different teams, all with star-studded lineups and notable names that are competing in the TGL. There are legends of the sport, such as Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Ricky Fowler. In total, all 24 players participating in the league have a combined 232 PGA Tour wins and boast an impressive 834 weeks at World Number 1. Each match that is played is 15 of 30 unique holes that the TGL created for the night. It offers the same challenge that a real golf course has, with holes that range all the way from par 3s to par 5s. They start by teeing up on TGL's real grass tee box and hit into the massive simulator screen. From there, when they get within a 50-foot radius of the green, the ball is accurately placed in TGL's green zone as they move into the real world with their sights set on the TGL's rotating green. The technology and details involved in the TGL is also something worth noting. Compared to a regular golf simulator, the TGL brings in real grass for the players to tee off of, and also offers a different height of grass to best simulate the fairway, the rough, and even a tee box. They also have a real bunker to keep the authenticity of the game and best help the players adapt. Even with real golf finally being played, the TGL offers an exciting new outlook on a game as old as time, and keeps you on your toes as some of the world's most notable names in golf take on the simulator. After this, we'll head right to Anchor, and Grant and Coop, take it away.
Wow. You know, Trevor, I would love to just go out there and play some golf with that little spinning green. That'd be sick.
I mean, if you got room, I'd love to join. Hey, but,
yeah.
You know, going back to Jack's segment, I hate to see our Jayhawks falling. I really hope that changes tonight as the Jayhawks take on the Cyclones here in Allen Fieldhouse. Cooper, are you going to be in attendance for that game?
You know, Grant, the only Cyclones that I know is by Baby Bash and T-Pain.
Sick reference, bro. Your references are out of control. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this is the end of this week's episode. As always, I'm Cooper Hannon.
And I'm Grant Shear, and we will catch you guys in the next week for another episode of Run It Back. Until then, stay cool, stay in school, and rock chalk.